It's fucking roasting today. 20. Jesus Christ. Alright, we should be good, because I forgot to implement that yesterday, so the animal populations would have carried over into the next level and then just kept like totaling up with the new population size. Oh yeah. I need to look at the felling code. Because I think maybe if more than one carpenter fells the same tree, it actually gets deducted from the conservation level twice. Just based on how it's set up right now. I mean, it can only enter the... Nah, probably not. It can only enter the falling state once, so... Should be fine. Let's fix that visual bug. I'm not gonna... So the changes that I made yesterday is now the conservation penalty for killing an animal of a particular species increases up to 2 times, or 200%, based on how few animals of that species remain. And then if you cause a species to go completely extinct, you get like a extra big penalty for that as well, of -10 conservation score. So you're really heavily incentivized to hunt like the sustainable animals and not just kill all the predators. I mean, it's only gonna knock out like half of your conservation score still, even now. Maybe the penalty, maybe the penalty needs to increase even more. Not just up to 200%, but up to like 400% or something. I mean, that would pretty much like wipe you out. You need a little bit of wiggle room in there so that you can allow for some amount of combat, essentially. We'll leave it. We'll leave it for now. It's a step in the right direction. Okay, so... Done. Done. one's kind of on tentative. We're hoping that's fixed. I found some stuff that could have potentially caused the hunters to stop hunting, which is what Brewer experienced in his playthrough. Quickly fix that visual bug with the trees. I think it's gonna be maybe the code is actually in the felling code on the human object. Here we go. Inner island, temperate forest, open plains, tropical rainforest. I'm pretty sure we swap them round and we say, if it's the boreal forest, do this, else do this. Right now, there'll be more different types of trees eventually, but right now there's two. Like that. Boom, done. Okay, pretty big one right now is that the portals get stuck open sometimes. And it seems to happen if the humans get attacked. Oh, well, it could be shaman related. I was thinking about the guards. It could be. What if it's the hunters even? Wait, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. None of them can be interrupted by combat when in the exit portal state. Okay, yeah. Are they inside? Are they in some other state? I mean, how is that possible? They've been removed. Exit portal. Action timer. Half a second. We delete them from the list. And then we put them on this path. Yeah, I can see how the pathing could be fucked up. I feel like really we shouldn't remove them from the list until they reach the end of this path. Right. That would make more sense. Oh, but we want the portal to close. I mean, it doesn't really matter if the portal stays open for a bit longer. Probably a good thing, actually. You can't reactivate it whilst they're still on the steps, I guess. Or can you? Maybe you can. Maybe this is not the thing that would prevent you from doing that. Well, the list has to be empty, so yeah, it would prevent you from doing that. Yeah, I could potentially see an issue with saving and load. Oh, but we don't allow you to save and load at this time, so that's fine. Okay, so I take all of this. Don't know why the image alpha 1 is here. I'm pretty sure it's inside of here. No? Maybe not. Okay. It's not. Oh. Yeah, but we're updating their state on the same step says at the same time as we activate them, so can't really see that being an issue. Okay, so image alpha 1, and we start this path. Once they reach the end of that path is when we do entered false. We delete them from the list. Once the list is finally empty, that's when we eventually close the portal. And then we kind of do the rest of this stuff. Quite sure why I do direction 270. I just sort of feel like not a big deal, I suppose. So it seems like we should do, what is that? 225. It seems like we should do 225. Whoops. Pathing. Oh. Usually it's important. It's been working, but usually it's important to update the state before you run the pathing stuff. But apparently we've been getting away with it. This may or may not fix it. I don't really know how it's been happening, so I don't know what I'm trying to fix exactly. Where's my save game? Yeah, so Brewer was talking about like a way to pick up multiple humans at the same time. I don't think I'll ever do that, but I was planning on doing a mass recall spell so you can teleport everyone back to camp at once. But I'm also thinking of just doing a recall spell, which is like an AoE teleport. You can drop it on one of them and it will also teleport like anyone else who's nearby, and it will basically just be for like grabbing little worship groups like this and quickly teleporting them all back to camp. The main reason that I'm wanting to do it is because I can have a really good idea in mind for the particle effect and how I think it should look. It should be like rings going up like this, you know? Like rings sort of sucking in from the outside and rising up. I just think it would look pretty sweet, and it's a pretty achievable effect. Will it be as good as the Miracle Forest particle effect? Probably not. It's hard to beat. Such a nice particle effect. The reason I try to kind of, you know, put some... Whoa, that's not how that works anymore. I just hid my UI. The reason I try and put some care and attention into the particle effects is because they will probably make it into the final game. Maybe they'll have updated, like, custom particles, but the actual kind of mechanics of the effects themselves will probably remain the same. So I try and make them look pretty nice. Yeah. If it's something that will probably make it into the final game, it makes sense to do it once instead of doing it sloppily and having to redo it later, I think. You know, I mean, stuff like the clouds, for example, the functionality of them, if you want to call it that, is quite good, but we just need to like swap them out for a custom cloud sprite or a few different custom cloud sprites so they can have some variation to them as well beyond just randomized size. Now the problem is we actually need to be attacked. So we... Wait a minute, there's only one of... Oh fuck, okay, this is not good. And they're just going into the ocean. Okay. So I've been messing with things I shouldn't have been messing with. Didn't realize that was going to be the case. Because they have to be removed from the list before the next human will actually leave the portal, because it's whoever's at the top of the list leaves the portal. Because of this. Okay. Fuck. Okay. So... I don't know if that would have been a viable solution or not, but regardless, we have to find a different way of doing it anyway, or we have to find a different way of doing this. We have to find a different way of doing something. I mean, the thing is, I don't have any guards or shaman or anything. So it may, like, even if they do get attacked, it might not bug out because it might specifically relate to just the guards or something. That's what my intuition is, but it could be something else. I've also got a not, like, tunnel vision on the guards, thinking it's definitely that when it could be something else. It's like the way that it is right now is that they'll like fall off the steps. It doesn't break anything, fortunately, I don't think, but if they're like walking down the steps and they get attacked, they'll like fall off the steps because they're in a forbidden cell on the navigation grid, technically. Normally they wouldn't be able to walk there. Okay, so we got... Okay, and there's some wolves right there, and the game just immediately froze. That's not what you want. Really. Fuck. Man, it's annoying that we're still getting freezing sometimes. Why did I put it on control and middle mouse to reset the zoom level? Why didn't I just do middle mouse? It's not like middle mouse is being... No, middle mouse is being used for the follow cam. Never mind, ignore me. I just want a single... I want to be able to press like a mouse button and just reset my camera zoom level. I don't have to press a modifier key. Okay, so there's a moose right there that looks like it may well attack us. Will that break everything, or what is that gonna do? No, it didn't break anything. We just have to keep kind of doing this, and well, I don't know what I'm hoping to learn here. I'm just trying to replicate the bug again. It's my fault because I'm reaching over and using the fricking arrow keys instead of using WASD. I don't know, I just can't break the habit, it seems. I can easily press control if I'm not doing that. Yeah, several people have said this game is like Don't Starve, but with a tribe, right? I think, you know, when they say my game is like game A plus game AB? What the fuck am I saying? Game A plus game B. AB positive. What does that mean? Some sort of blood type? Oh, we got wolves right there. They're not gonna see us, I don't think. So my game is kind of like Don't Starve meets Black and White. Something like that, I guess. If I had to describe it as a combination of existing games. I've never played Don't Starve, but I mean, from the title alone, I kind of get what it's about. Some sort of survival game. And I guess the fact that everyone keeps, well, people keep telling me this is like Don't Starve, I guess. I don't see why they would be lying about that. Yeah, this is probably not going to work. It probably has something to do with the guards or hunters or something. I should make a tribe with all the different gifts and then try going through the portal. You know, if they were... Oh, there's some wolves there. I can bait them over by doing this. See if that fucks it up. You know, if they're still on this path... No, it still works. If they're still on this path, like leaving the portal... I could just reverse the path, right? If they're still on that path when you activate the portal again, I could just have them like turn around and go back along the same path back into the portal or something. There's probably more to it than that. Obviously we need to get them into the right state again so that they know they're actually trying to enter a portal instead of exiting one. That is true. Surprisingly, it seems to be working right now, and I don't even know how. I have tried reopening a portal like as soon as they've finished exiting it, while some of them are still coming down the stairs. And they just kind of turned around and went back in. It didn't even... I thought it would be kind of broken. But it was kind of fine. Somehow. Okay, we got some wolves right there, so... we're gonna see... a little bit of action. The guards are dying. Is the portal still gonna close? No, so this is it. Okay, so we know that it's... well, it could be other gifts as well, not just guards. Potentially, what if it's hunters? But we know that the guards caused this bug. That's confirmed. What if we had some shaman? I don't know why it would be shaman actually, but... nah, shaman probably... what I really want to test is hunters, I think. Oh, I can't load my save because somebody already went in the portal. Yeah, I just don't allow saving or loading once somebody's gotten in the portal, I think, or has reached the stairs or something like that. Just so that... because it would just be a night... well, I kind of thought about, like, trying to figure that stuff out, but it was a lot of... it would have been a lot, so... I was just like, you know what, you just can't save the game whilst half of them are in the portal. Or whatever, so that I don't have to do all the extra work of preventing you from being able to break the game by doing that. So what have we got? We got a couple of shaman this time in the mix. Do we have any animals though? Doesn't look like enough to bait some over. Can I get them down here in time? Probably not. No. Alright, let's try it with hunters. Throw a few hunters in the portal. Well, let's try again. We probably want quite a large group of hunters as well, because... well, I don't know actually. If that really makes a difference. Sweet. Got wolves right there. Is this gonna break the portal? Quite possibly. Jesus Christ. Okay, that didn't break the portal, so... This seems to be something to do with guards specifically. There's a fight going on outside now. Alright, Extingrim, thanks for the water, dude. How's it going? Sounds good, man. Okay, so this seems to be exclusive to the gods. Why? That doesn't make any sense. Well, I suppose we can't say that with complete certainty, but it does seem like it. The bug fund. Jeez, I wish we had a bug fund. I mean, I'm finding them, and I'm not... I'm yet to fix this one. I mean, they run, the guards run on basically the exact same code as everyone else. So how would it be any different, really? You know? I mean, I'm assuming that it's because they're not all getting removed from the list. But I guess I don't know that for sure, so we can have a look at that. By drawing that list to the screen. I can't really see what else it would be, but I haven't actually confirmed it. Get some guards in there, mix them in a bit. And just hope that we get a spawn next to some wolves or something. Oh, maybe I can bait some wolves over in time. Come on. Frick. There we go. Might be too late. Oh, okay, I was too late. Whoops. Oh, well, I did that wrong anyway. String DS list size is what I want. Did I change the line spacing? No. Okay. Well, there's your problem. Oh, jeez. Yeah, you can use the mouse on the menu. Not used to that. I might try and make it so the wolf dens don't spawn so close to the portal, but I don't know. Alright, so the entered humans list is definitely going up correctly. I'm assuming what happens is one of them gets stuck on that list, so the portal never closes because it thinks somebody's still in the portal. How that would be happening, I mean, obviously if they somehow get broken out of the exit portal state or wind up in some other state before they get removed from the list, that's how that would be happening, but I can't see how that would be possible right now. Chain pulling? Some sort of chain pulling. Oh, I may have just cracked the code. Okay. You know what it probably is? I think the guards have chain pulling, and one guard aggroes and then chain pulls the other guard, but doesn't remove them from... We just like need to make sure that guards can't be chain pulled if they're in the exit portal state, or even possibly some other states, possibly the enter portal state. If that's not a state, what is it called? I don't know, whatever that one's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Just took me a minute to figure it out there. By a minute, I mean a few days of thinking about it, however long it's been since I found this bug. Yeah, because there's other... that's the thing, is like... Sometimes you forget there's other ways. Well, it's more like when something else can change their state. That's... it's like I usually forget, oh, their state can be changed externally by like an external force, you know. And I'm not always thinking about that. So if we have a look at them, and then there's potentially the same for the hunters. I think the hunters also have this kind of chain pulling type behavior. All it's saying right now is as long as the any nearby guards are not already attacking, then pull them into the attacking state along with you and make them like target your target and stuff. So that's a good point. I mean, this just totally got overlooked because, I mean, if you think about it, even before there were exit portals that they would emerge from, this is true of entering portals as well, that we don't want to do this. So I just need to refresh myself on all the different portal-related states, because I can't remember them. Exodus. Don't know what that is. Exodus. Stasis. Jeez, yeah, you don't want them to be able to pull them out of stasis. Well, you wouldn't be able to pull them out of stasis. Would you be able to pull them out of stasis? What is stasis? I don't know. Something. Because when do they get deactivated? This just adds them to the list and makes them invisible and ends their path. When do they actually get deactivated? I think they might... Oh, I think they get deactivated on the actual, like, level transition. Wait. But then how would they persist between levels if they got do they ever get deactivated? Do we even deactivate them anymore? Is that... What's the name of the function? Instance activate object. Are we ever deactivating them in the first place? I'm assuming so. I've just forgotten where I do it. Instance activate. There's no reference to that in here. Instance activate, not in here either. Maybe we don't do that. Huh. Okay. Yeah, because if they're deactivated, how would you... they wouldn't persist to the next level because technically they don't exist when they're deactivated. So I'm pretty sure they would continue to not exist. They wouldn't even be destroyed. Technically they've already been destroyed. But in such a way that they can be reactivated, recreated. I don't know. What we need to do is prevent anything from being chain pulled out of... I'll write these down, I guess. Stasis. Exit portal. Exodus. Now, not necessarily Exodus. Path position greater than or equal to... So they're in stasis as soon as they start walking up the stairs. Okay, that's fine. But then they don't go invisible until they get to the top, well, to the end of the path, which is when they enter the portal and disappear. Okay, so it's just those two, I think. Exodus... No, not Exodus. Stasis and exit portal. Okay, that's easy. So we gotta say... Nearby guards I... State does not equal state... Stasis... And... Exit portal, I think it's spelled like that. Yeah, it is. And we probably want to do the same for hunters as well, because state defend, they also have some sort of a chain pulling type behavior. They also have some sort of a chain pulling type behavior when hunting, but I don't think that they could possibly be hunting. I think that all, I mean, we forced them into the migration state, but yeah, so they couldn't possibly be hunting. So I don't, but what, I mean, is it possible that something could knock them out of the migration state whilst they're still near the portal and then they decide to start hunting? I'm not sure. I mean, ideally no, but I don't actually know. Like, you you would hope that the hunting party is disbanded and everything basically like when they leave the previous level. And they wouldn't be able to form a new hunting party until after they've finished migrating. I don't know if that's strictly true though. Probably not. Anyway, that says nearby guards. I'm getting ahead of myself. Nearby hunters. Boom, like that. There we go. Okay, so that's another bug fixed. Hey, we got there in the end. Portal. Okay, now I know exactly what it is as well. Portals get stuck open if guards or hunters chain pull other guards / hunters. That's fine. Nice. Okay. So if you have a look at the top here where this is where hunting parties get formed. I could just add something to this. I mean, we have to hope that the hunting party was disbanded in the first place. Which we have no idea if that's true. There's nothing in here to prevent them from forming a hunting party if, like, you know, a portal has been opened. So what would happen is you could potentially... What could happen here exactly? I mean, potentially you could open a portal whilst they're in a hunting party and nothing would cause that party to be disbanded, I don't think. And also potentially you could open a portal causing them to return to idle, at which point they decide to form a hunting party because there's nothing that would prevent them from forming a hunting party if a portal is open. Or if they're migrating. So on the other side of the portal they could be migrating, but then they get interrupted. But I mean, I suppose it doesn't matter too much if they form a hunting party as long as they don't actually do any hunting. That is true. Because it's only the hunting states that could possibly chain pull another hunter causing this problem. So... how does that work exactly? I think it's pure state prioritization in that the migrating state would exist higher up this list, because the higher up on the list it is, the higher priority it is. There would be a migrating... why don't I just search for it? Migrating state here, which exists above, like, any of the hunting states, for example. It doesn't exist above certain other things like extinguishing fires or combat-related stuff. Or pregnancy, even, possibly. Retrieving abandoned babies, that's pretty important. So, basically, because... I don't know where I am. Migrate equals true, this just kicks in and prevents them from doing any hunting, and therefore it is actually impossible for them to chain pull a hunter. And now we've also... so we're covering all of our bases now. You can't chain pull a hunter, like, off the portal. you can't start hunting if you're still migrating, even if you're in a hunting party, just because state prioritization won't allow you to do that. So we're good. We're good. Good to know. It's hard to, like, keep all of this stuff in mind at once, you know, like, that's the challenge when a project reaches this sort of size, is that you can't remember everything at all times. So it's why you sort of have to focus on a specific isolated area of the project at any given time, because you can hold it all in memory at once and work fairly efficiently. But when you're kind of jumping around all over the place, which is often what you're doing when fixing bugs, right? It's a bit like you just have to go and look, because you can't even remember how anything works. Yeah, no, still waiting for the price to come down on those. Jesus. I'm trying to get the Quake mission packs back in the collection. I'm looking for them for years. I don't think I've shown this on stream, actually. Recently, got a couple of games back in the collection that I've been trying to get back for, well, years. Yeah, I don't know how many years, but Unreal Tournament, little Totally Unreal. This is one of my favorite big boxes. Really glad to have it back in the collection. In really nice condition as well. You know what I've never had but would like to own is the Return to Napoli expansion pack for Unreal. That's pretty hard to get a hold of. Okay. Boom. So that's another bug down. Hopefully that, no, just I don't know what was going on with that actually. So as an extension of the bug with the hunters in Brewer's playtest yesterday, we had the bug where some of the hunters just weren't hunting, and it was because they weren't able to join the hunting party, which, I mean, I found something that may have been a potential cause that could potentially have been causing that, but I'm not 100% that was the source of the bug. But we can only really wait and see now if it has been fixed, because I couldn't really figure it out for sure that that's exactly what it was. But also there was another bug where one of the hunters was just like killing and not harvesting anything, which is really strange. We could have a quick look at, because it's almost as if the kill was not being added to his kill tracker, because normally they kill something and then they're like, oh, I've got a kill, let me go harvest it. But if it never gets added, they'll just keep killing and killing. It's kind of, I mean, I haven't looked at this code in a while, but I don't know how that would be possible. But maybe like something to do with the hunting party being broken, or I don't know. This is what I was working on yesterday off stream, the new conservation level stuff. So now, as you kill animals and the species population drops, the penalty for killing them gets higher and higher and higher, up to 2 times. And if you completely wipe out a species, you get a big -10 conservation penalty for that as well. So you're incentivized to like hunt sustainably, and you're disincentivized from like killing off the wolves just because they annoy you or something. Like, it might still need a bit more balancing, but I'm hoping it's better than it was. Plus now conservation level or score is local to the level that you're in. Better say conservation score, because otherwise I'm saying level twice to mean 2 different things and it's confusing. But the conservation score is like local to the current level. You have 100 conservation per level. And I think it also puts the pressure on a lot more as well, because you see that bar starts getting really low. Instead of it being at like 1,000 for the whole playthrough, and you can play through several levels before it really starts getting into the danger zone. So yeah, I think this is good. It just kind of it's sort of more clear what's going on. What is it? What am I looking at here? So owner dot. Wait, what is this? Smitten, false. Instance exists, owner. Right, but what if something was stuck on the... Oh. That's a... Interesting. Interesting. Let's have a look at the... Because this happened at the beginning of, like, level 3. So what if, like, they killed something in the previous map that obviously no longer exists because we're in a different level now, but it got stuck on the kill tracker, and then, like, nothing that they killed after that could be able to be added to the tracker because it has to be empty. Am I clearing the kill tracker, like, when we switch levels, you know? I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say it doesn't look like it. This is all I do with the humans, really. I've got trackers clear. Yeah, wait. Is kill even in here? Ha. So I have this function that just clears all the trackers, but the kill tracker is not in this function. So there you go. There's your problem. Where should I put it? Threat level? I feel like putting it like there, I think. There we go. So probably something like that happened, where the hunter went to the next level after having killed something in the previous level. And their tracker didn't reset. And so they would kill something and then they... Well, I mean... Nah, that doesn't make sense actually, because they wouldn't hunt in the first place. Well, it depends, unless it's based on an instance exists check, because they could have something on the tracker but it doesn't exist, and then they're like, oh well, they may have something on the tracker but I can still hunt because it doesn't exist. I don't know. Potentially. Well, look. Oh, that's not how it works anymore. Harvest list. It's got to be on global harvest. So it has nothing to do with... Oh, right. So, yeah. Yeah, actually. But I mean... Oh, and it doesn't even get added to the harvest list? Oh, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane. Wait, where's the... This is for wolves? Sorry, I was looking at the wolves. No, it doesn't even okay, no, it doesn't even do that for humans. I don't think humans even use this kill tracker anymore. Look, they just seem to put stuff directly onto the global harvest list. They don't have like a local... It doesn't... Yeah, okay, so no. That's not it. It doesn't get added to like a local kill tracker at all anymore. That's... See, I'm like... This is how it used to work 2 years ago or something, and I've forgotten how it works now. Yeah, there's nothing... The other animals still seem to use a kill tracker. The humans don't. The humans have a global harvest list that's kind of like shared between them all. So we still have no idea what was going on with this one hunter that just like went Rambo and started massacring hundreds of deer and not harvesting any of them. What was that all about? Yeah, what was he doing? That's a good question. So you gotta be in the hunting party to harvest. You've gotta be in the hunting party to hunt even, right? So he was definitely hunting, so he was definitely in the hunting party. Interesting. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So maybe... Okay. Maybe, state... Stalk... Maybe there's... nothing to break him out of hunting. That'd be pretty crazy. Interrupts. Target. Oh, but target switching is before that? Okay. I'm seeing a potential issue here, because there's nothing to tell them to just, like, stop hunting when something needs harvesting, right? That's not a thing. Amazingly enough, somehow. Actually, what they want to look for is that their target is dead. That they have killed their target, basically. But they can switch targets to the nearest prey, should that change, whichever one is nearest. So what if they kill their target and then it's dead, so the new nearest prey is like this one over here, and then they kill that one, and then they switch targets again, and they just keep switching targets and killing more of them. As long as they're in range, they can do that. They can just keep switching. And do we have instant update trackers in here? I wouldn't have thought so. So that's maybe slightly confusing. Yeah, there's no... So the trackers are on a delay here, where it has to scan through all of the prey animals at a rate of 1 per step, 60 steps per second. So it'll take them a while to figure out like what the new nearest prey is. So it doesn't seem likely that that was happening. Kind of strange, right? Although, well, what would they do in that case? I have no idea. They would still be targeting the same thing. Because I think when the animal dies, it's like, oh, I better remove myself from the hunter's nearest prey tracker because I'm like dead now. So it removes itself from that. If it's on the tracker, it removes itself from the tracker instantly upon death. And then the human is like... I mean, potentially it could just line up perfectly, even though it's unlikely to happen. It could potentially just line up in such a way that The tracker just updated it, like, just the right frame for them to switch targets to the new nearest prey. Maybe we should just have something in the interrupts here that interrupts them if something needs harvesting. The only weird thing about that is that potentially the thing that needs harvesting is miles away. And then it's kind of like, well, how did they know that something they can't even see needed harvesting, right? That is a little bit strange. Wait a minute, what is this? Oh, you're fucking kidding me. No, it is on instant update. Okay, well, this can definitely happen again. Sorry, I wasn't like registering what this is. That's exactly what this is. So whilst they're hunting, so if we have a look here at the nearest prey tracker that normally runs, it's like if they're not hunting or stalking, oh, and wait a minute, what does this say? To be in a hunting party. If they're in a hunting party but not hunting or stalking, then we run this nearest prey tracker here, right, which runs gradually at a rate of 1 per step. Then if they are hunting or stalking, we switch over to this instant update tracker to get like snappier, more responsive sort of behavior at the cost of performance. And so what this can do is, like, they can kill an animal and then immediately find another one and switch targets to it, and then none of these interrupts trigger, because they're no longer targeting a dead animal, they're now targeting a fresh, new, live animal. And so they just keep shooting, he's coming right for us! They just keep shooting. Shit, okay. So, what's the appropriate response to this? I mean, aren't they supposed to break out of stealth and like, yeah. I mean, well, that's on the interrupt. But when they shoot an arrow, don't they leave stealth? I thought they did. Yeah. They leave stealth after shooting an arrow, I believe. Yeah, exactly. So if they shoot an arrow, normally the reason it's not been an issue normally is like because they leave stealth and they spook all the animals and they all run out of range, and so they can't shoot them. And okay, but if they've already switched targets, that still seems. I mean, I suppose that the thing that would break them out then is that the target gets way out of range, and they're like, "Oh, it's too far away. Give up the chase," you know. Okay, so a lot of this sort of stuff, and I forget exactly how it works, is to like prevent them from being interrupted if their target is like already bleeding or something. Wait, no, none of these seem to say that. Okay, maybe not that. There's something like to prevent them from being interrupted if an arrow is currently in flight, because they want to like wait and see if it actually hits something. Actually, I think that's basically what this is like they can only be interrupted if the target is fleeing and the arrow has missed them. So basically the arrow is now further away from me than my target is from me, because I know that means the arrow must have missed my target. Although that's debatable, because what the arrow actually does is fly past the target and then draw a collision line backwards to the one who shot the arrow to see if it actually passed through a target, because the arrows can move so fast that essentially in the space of a single frame they entirely like teleport through the target without ever actually touching it. So in order to make the collisions work properly, you have to draw a collision line back to the one that shot the arrow to see if it actually intersected with something. So it's all just a load of jank, basically. Because an arrow can move at a max speed of 64 pixels per step. And some of the animals have like a sprite height or a mask height, like a hitbox height of 32 pixels, so it could easily just skip right over them, essentially, without ever actually touching them. Whatever you do, don't make a video game, okay? Just don't do it. Alright, so what are we gonna do about this? Because it's one thing to just say, alright, stop hunting if something is on the harvest list, but what if that thing is miles away? You know? The other, we do need to fix this. The other major issue is the freaking hunters, like, I don't even know what's going on. Right, we need to look into it. Let's focus on one thing at a time. We'll get to that next. I need to figure this out. Prevent them from switching targets if there's already an arrow in flight, or if their target is already dead, for example, so they don't like kill something and then switch targets. Alright, I sort of need to read and understand this, I think. What does this even mean? Target is out of range and no arrow currently exists, so there isn't still an arrow in flight. That seems a little bit odd. What if the target has already missed? What if the arrow has already missed the target? Okay, I guess it's not a huge deal, but so if the target is out of range and there's no arrow and the target is not bleeding, or if the target is fleeing, well, how could it get out of range without fleeing? This seems quite redundant. Why am I doing all of this? What is this? If the target is fleeing and the arrow does exist, and the arrow has missed the target, and the target is not bleeding. See, the target must not be bleeding. That's kind of a big thing, right? Because if the target's bleeding, then you've hit it, and you want to pursue it. Okay. So I mean, what, like... I mean, I suppose potentially the player could pick up the target and move it out of range, but then it would make more sense to interrupt if the target is now held by the player, rather than... Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we should do. Why is there no... Because that, like, very rarely ever happens. But technically, it's theoretically possible to pick up the thing the hunter is hunting, and you don't want the hunter to keep hunting it whilst it's held by the player, that's for sure. Okay, so that's something we're completely missing from here. So we're gonna make it even worse. God, my keyboard is slowly dying. There you go. If the target is held by the player, you should stop hunting it. Okay. I have a feeling we could consolidate this down. I don't know if we need to... If we're going to do this, we don't need this, basically. If the target starts running, these things can run fast, like way faster than a hunter. So the hunter's just like, fuck it. Alright, I'm not keeping up with that, right? It starts running, basically. So we don't need this at all. We can just go like, oop, like that. So it starts running, and there's no arrow currently in flight, and it's not bleeding, so you haven't hit it yet. You just give up the chase. If it's running and there is an arrow, and the arrow has missed. Okay, I think I get it. Yeah, and the arrow has missed, and it's not, and it's not bleeding. Then we interrupt this state. Or if the target goes inside somehow, because you can't get to it anymore. Although it could potentially die in there if it was bleeding. So maybe we should also check bleeding. Well, you can't shoot at it anymore when it's inside. So yeah, we do need to stop. Or if it's dead or harvested. I kind of feel like, shouldn't this one be... This is another state, isn't it? So it should be down with all the other states. Let's keep them together. It's very unlikely. I'd put it after the death state even. Very unlikely. Why is this not double equals? There you go. Get some double equals in there. So, dead, held by the player, harvested. What are we doing? I feel like I kind of lost sight of the prize. What am I doing? Something. Okay, prevent them from switching targets if the target is dead, or if there's an arrow in flight. And the target's not bleeding. I think basically I want to put like these same sort of... most of these same sort of conditions into here. Like the target is... That's a bad idea. Is that a bad idea? I don't know. Target is fleeing. Target is fleeing and the arrow missed. Target is inside. Target is dead, held, or harvested. I feel like we can just drop those in there. That. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So now they can't kill one thing and then be like, oh, it's dead, I better kill this one. Oh, it's dead, I better kill the other. You know, and they just keep killing and killing and killing. They'll kill one thing, and then they won't switch targets because it's dead. And then they'll just be like, alright, well, it's dead, so I better, you know, return to idle, at which point they'll probably decide to harvest it. Okay, that's good. Oh jeez. Oh jeez, Rick. Why is it gotta be such a mess? Fucking hell. What? Why is it like this now? Oh no. I have to move this whole thing over? Maybe I got something wrong. Yeah, that goes to there, and then this one goes all the way back to the top. It's actually formatted. Okay, and I'm just wondering... No, there's nothing like that in the... Well, in the defend state it doesn't matter because there's no sort of harvesting. It's like we want them to keep shooting stuff if they're trying to defend themselves, I guess. Yeah. Sounds about right. Okay. Okay, that's another bug down. How would you describe this bug? Hunters... They just won't stop hunting. They can't stop, won't stop, don't stop the beat. I described it as hunters killing animals but not harvesting. That's pretty much it. Hunters can kill an animal but not... Wait, no, it's too vague. Hunters can kill an animal and switch targets to... So, hunters... How the fuck do you explain this? Hunters... Something like hunters can kill an animal and not stop to harvest, and not stop what? Shooting? Shooting. Hunters can kill an animal and not, and not stop. It sounds wrong. Why does it sound wrong? Hunters can kill an animal and not stop shooting. Wait, what? Shooting to harvest it? That's just fucking insane. That doesn't make any sense. That sounds... That's... Hunters can kill an animal and... What? Kill an animal without harvesting? Okay, hunters can kill an animal without harvesting if another animal is in range. That doesn't explain the bug, though. What they did, it's like they it's not the fact that they don't harvest this animal, it's the fact they start killing more animals. Hunters can... Hunters... Hunters do not stop shooting at animals after killing an animal. It sounds wrong again. Hunters... Oh my god. What did I say originally? Hunters killing animals but not harvesting them. That's not really the bug. I suppose truly eventually they would have harvested them if something broke them out of that loop that they were in. Better just grab something to drink. I'll be right back. Hunters will not stop killing animals as long as there are animals in range. So something like that. I forgot it's Saturday, so all the idiots are out. Oh. Let's see, let's close the windows. I think this mostly prevents it, though. I think this might entirely prevent it. Or is it supposed to be the inverse logic? No. You can only switch targets if the target is fleeing, there's no arrow and it's not bleeding. Or if the target is fleeing, there is an arrow but it missed and it's not bleeding. Or if it's inside, or if it's dead, held, or harvested. Then you can switch targets, that's fine. Yeah, okay, I think we solved it, okay. And the patch note says hunters will not stop killing animals as long as there are more animals in range. As long as there are animals in range. Hunters will not, or do not. Hunters do not. Hunters will not stop killing animals as long as there are animals in range. Even if something needs harvesting, do I need to mention that, or? I don't know. Anyway, okay, so the other hunter bug, which really needs fixing, I kind of need to refresh my memory on how this actually works. How does this work? Maybe... Let's look at the actual hunting state itself. Interesting, okay. Arrived hunters. This is what the problem is. That they return to idle? So if the hunting party is large enough, what winds up happening? Oh well, this hunger interrupt. Okay, it's not a big deal then, actually. What, we already have hunger and thirst and sleep interrupt on this anyway. So it doesn't make any difference, really. Okay, so what is it? They just suck. I mean, I suppose what it does is it slows them down. If they're not like together as a group and they're waiting for stragglers to catch up, then they're just doing less hunting. It's part of what makes a larger hunting party less effective. Like, the other thing is that they all have to make stealth checks, right? So the larger the hunting party, the higher the chance of one of them failing their stealth check and spooking all the animals. But this also, we have this problem of like, there's going to be more stragglers and they're waiting for them to catch up, so they actually spend less time hunting, or they cover less ground, really. See, I thought the problem was that ordinarily they would ignore hunger and thirst and stuff whilst hunting, but they don't. But I thought they did, and that once they reached the waypoint and were waiting for the others to catch up, they would return to idle, but then during that waiting period they would then get hungry or something, and then they'd stop hunting and go eat. But they would stop hunting and go eat anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. It's just that the larger the party, kind of the sort of potentially the less ground they're going to cover, because they're waiting on people to catch up. Alright, well, we're not doing anything about that. I mean, okay. Yeah, that's all fine. That's fine. So what are we doing next today? That's a good question. You know, I want to increase the length of a year again back to what it used to be honest with you. I'm not feeling these shorter seasons. They don't seem substantial enough. So I'm actually going to put the length of a year back to what it was. Which was 13,440, I believe. I will check that, but... And I did all of the work necessary the other day to be able to change the length of a year by changing a single number. Yeah, I've even got the old one there. So, I can just do that. Yeah, in a way, I kind of get it. I kind of like it, but the thing is, the seasons just being so short, it makes them feel like they're over before they even started, really. It's not like you have to survive this long winter, you know? It's just like, oh, was that winter? It's already kind of past, it's already over. So, I think the longer year is better, but what I want to do is make it so that the crash kind of makes the humans age up faster, essentially. Or should I say, like, age up sooner, maybe. I don't want them to age up faster, because, you know, time is just time. It proceeds at the same rate. But I think, basically, I want the crash to, like, you know, let's say that they change from a child to an adult at 7 years old. Like, the more time they spend in the crash, the lower that number gets. So maybe you could bring it down to 6 years old or 5 years old, so that you can get the humans to age up more quickly. But that's like, that's kind of so that's like a whole new feature that I'd be adding to the game, basically. So I don't think I'm gonna do it right now. I'm kind of doing like this sort of, these little things like bug fixes and a bit of polish and quality of life stuff for the playtesters here, just trying to respond to the feedback from the playtesters. I'm not really trying to get into like adding any new features or anything big like that. Because what I really should be focused on right now is the pitch deck and getting funding So, yeah, I'm not even really supposed to be doing too much development. I think, adding the version number to the main menu would be pretty nice. Okay, one thing, like, where is that? Auto-saving. Oh. Hey, Scarva, thanks, dude. Pretty bad. I think I might be finally recovering from this sinus infection. Yeah, I've been sick for like 6 weeks. I'm hoping I'm getting better now. Hope I'll feel better by next weekend. It's cooled off somewhat now. Auto-saving, increase the minimum distance between streams in the desert. Do I have anything set up for that? Probably not. Oh yeah, I mean there's the usual. I mean I always feel like shit, but this sinus infection, I've had it for like 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's nothing I can do, really. The damage is done. You know, I eat healthy, I exercise, I try and get as much sleep as possible, but yeah, I fucked myself up pretty good. Just from my past, really. Okay. Streams. Desert Island. All I do in the desert island is change how the streams look. Garlic, onion, and lemon. Man, I do love garlic, but it's like... it's just extra effort to cook with it. I don't know. I prepare really simple meals just to try and save time, because I'm always so busy. I tried, and then I just like, after a while I just stopped, like, adding it to the meals. Lemon, I don't quite know what I would do. I mean, I do supplement, yeah, I was doing that for a while, just like eating a clove of garlic every now and again. I should probably do that, just chomp down some garlic. You know, I take vitamin C every day, so I should be good. I mean, onion just takes too long, and like, what would I even put that in? I don't know. Okay. So the initial spawn rules here don't change based on what level we're on, but that's what we want to do. Yeah, I don't think I need to worry about the citrus, because I'm supplementing vitamin C, and I do eat fruit every day. I eat like apples, bananas, and strawberries with honey. And I drink ginger tea, ginger and turmeric tea, That was an easy way to get... And I eat dark chocolate with ginger. A couple of easy ways to get ginger in. Haha. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I eat real healthy. I'm actually really... I have a really healthy lifestyle. I almost said I'm actually really healthy, but I'm not. But I do have a really healthy lifestyle. Jeez, man, that's not a lot for a whole day. Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to start lifting again on Monday, because, I mean, the headaches have gone down a lot, and that's what was preventing me from... And that's got to keep you pretty active, but... Like, yeah, I guess it's hard to find time to, like... make food and stuff. Whoops. I mean, that's why I just do really quick, easy meals, because who's got the time, you know? Yeah, I'm getting hungry now, actually. I should put something in the oven. That would be crazy. Spin me on one finger like a basketball. Hey, that's nice now. Okay. So we want to do... Actually, I don't think there even is anything to prevent the streams from spawning too close to one another, right? There's like nothing like that. Oh no, wait, what is this? Freshwater. Okay, no, okay, it's collision ellipse based. Well, that's stupid. Okay, we need to increase this number if we're in the desert island. By a bunch, I would say. Maybe we should increase it in the regular maps. Geez, why am I using collision ellipses? Because I never refactored this code. We could just try increasing this to 120 everywhere. Might be interesting. Yeah, I'll hopefully be able to start lifting on Monday, and that should help. definitely need to do it. I mean, the headaches got so bad that it was like just a nightmare. Is it just gonna freeze now? It might just be freezing. Yeah, this doesn't work. Alright, well, we can't do that. You know, I'm not going to worry about this too much for right now. Let's see. I think that's probably the most important thing that I could do right now is add support for different resolutions. But that is pretty, that's a pretty massive undertaking. I don't even know how to do it. Like, I tried once before and failed. If object index equals object human, and then if HP greater than 0, else do this. Okay. So I think, I mean, and all that is in here is all the gift assignment code. So I think if I just do and keyboard check VK left shift. Or keyboard check right shift. There we go. So, oh wait a minute, isn't that gonna fuck shit up though? Yeah, it is. God damn it. We can't do it that way. Gotta grab this. Gotta put a whole new if statement in. Fire's true. Okay, right. Snapping, we gotta do that and that. Migrating check. Okay, that's all good. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be checking. It's not this. Shift is not pressed. And the right shift is not pressed. Then you can do this. So now there's a modifier where if you hold shift, it will cancel gift assignment. I should be able to easily check. If I... Oh, but it doesn't. So it, yeah. I mean, it works, but we still get the little icon that pops up, which we don't actually want to be able to see that icon. And also that doesn't override that, or it's behind it or something maybe. No, it should override it. Okay, that's gonna be in... I think it's actually in here. The hell is gift icon? Okay, here's the X icon thing. Okay. I gotta add this here. And that will prevent the other one from overriding it. Okay, so there's that, and then we only want to show, again, we only want to show the gift icon if you're not holding shift, so same as what we did. It's in the drop script. We don't need those brackets. That. Okay. So yeah, the icon shouldn't show up either if you're holding shift now. There we go. So if I hold shift and drop them, then it's not gonna assign a gift. If I release shift and drop them, it will. Perfect. Okay, just a little quality of life thing for Brewer, because he gets super annoyed when he drops them on something and accidentally reassigns the gift. So you can hold shift to avoid doing that. Done. Adding cause of death to the gravestones seems like a pretty smart move. I want the humans to have a Pussycat the Greatest. Good for you. Good on you. I'm glad to hear it. We want to give these guys a sort of cause of death variable in which we can store the cause of death. I guess that would be a tracker. So it's going to go in here somewhere. We could call it COD, or I think we cause of death. Spell it out like that. Starts out as no one. And then we want to save and load that information. How's it going, Puskas? Welcome on in. I'm Flames. I'm making a God Sim game, or a God game, that I've been working on for a few years now. Cause of death. That is true, I suppose. It does need adding to the get instances script. Wait a minute. Oh. Really? Okay, there's no humans in here. Oh. That means if you go to the next level and leave dead humans behind, they won't be there when you return. Which I don't think is what we want. We kind of want them to be there, right? Okay. Okay. Okay, deactivating an instance doesn't actually deactivate it until the end of the event in which it was deactivated, so it's not a viable option. But I think we can pretty easily do this. Still, I want to grab this. After waypoint. Okay, why would we be saving waypoints? Do we save waypoints? Possibly. Yeah, we probably do. We probably do, and it's probably because we want stuff to continue pathing to the waypoint when we return to that map. Waypoint. Oh no, it looks like I've actually removed that from this. So that might also be a problem, to be honest with you. Well, I guess if it just doesn't exist anymore, it's not really going to cause any issues, I suppose. Although would the... Arrow. Okay, we go waypoint, then arrow. Maybe I should save these? I don't know. Okay. Don't save arrows either, apparently. Which kind of also makes sense. I mean, there shouldn't be any, really. That is true. I mean, we might... Good lord. Arrow, tree stumps. Okay, we definitely save tree stumps. Alright. Finally. How is that not there? What are you talking about? Oh, there it is. Okay. Boom, alright. We're saving those things now. With object human, you only want to do this if they're dead, basically. Okay. I mean... Sure. There we go. Seems good, right? I just want to keep the same terrible formatting going. unless I'm going to change it. Right, so we only actually save dead humans when you go to the next level. That is important. Okay, so now you can actually return and resurrect them, which you couldn't do before, interestingly. I guess that was kind of a bug in a way. Dead humans would not be remain in past levels. Dead humans would not be in previous levels when you return to them. Dead humans would not be... Dead humans do not persist? Is that the word I'm looking for? Dead humans do not remain in previous levels when you return to them. Something like that, I think. Okay. Now they should. What was I actually trying to do, though? I was trying to do something. What was I doing? Oh, I'm adding the cause of death thing. Right, gotcha. Okay. Cause of death, good. Okay, back to the human then. So we're saving and loading the cause of death variable. We need to set it to the right thing when they die, depending on how they died. And I kind of already have like a debug message here, which is now going to become an actual useful thing. Okay, there's nothing to check if they're on fire, for example. We should kind of just build these in at the top here. Okay, something like that, right? If they didn't die of old age, or burning to death, or being smitten, then they were probably mauled to death by animals. We could flesh it out eventually to say exactly what type of animal killed them, but this is fine for now. At least we've got something. So we need to like draw that stuff on the UI when they're dead, basically. And I think it makes sense to hide a lot of the other stuff like the bars and things, which are still visible even if they're dead now, which doesn't really make sense. So we'll just be in here. Show bars is true. And HP is greater than 0, basically, right? We do all this stuff. Or we could say if HP is... Yeah, let's put it at the end. If... HP greater than 0. Oh, right, it's only... And what is this? Temperature. I still, the thing is I still want to draw the gift, right? Age. Maybe I want the age as well. Temp, state, gift. Jesus Christ. You know, the absolute simplest way to do this, save as much time as possible, is forget about the bars and stuff and just, we have state here, right? And then we just do like, if they're alive, we draw the state. If not, we draw the cause of death in its place. Pretty straightforwards. String? Ah, string width, string. Jesus. Okay, I'm gonna have to test the thing where you like go to the next level with dead humans in the map and then come back and see if they're still there so you can resurrect them. You should be able to do that. I didn't realize that I hadn't done that. So now, depending on how they die, you should be able to see the cause of death. Might not be entirely accurate yet, but we got something going, which is good. I'm gonna do a new game. Actually, I'm gonna go in test mode. I can burn them and smite them and stuff. Throw them to the wolves, and we'll see. Drowning, if they drown, they just like disappear into the ocean, right? So you can't read it. They're gone. So we don't have to worry about that. If they don't exist anymore, they drowned. Alright. Oh, I need some power to do that. Oh, I do have power. Why didn't that work? I'm on test mode. Oh, that's a bug. Why can't I smite these guys? The hell? Oh, this is totally bugged. What? You gotta be kidding me. Can I set them on fire? Yes. Okay, smite is broken for some reason. How many shaman do we have? 2. I set both of the shaman on fire. Okay. Oh my god, the water bearers are extinguishing them. That's just ruining my plan. They're too good. Where's Okay, this guy got mauled to death by a bear. We can check that out. Mauled to death. He was mauled to death. Indeed. Oh, the thing is, they could be mauled to death by... burned to death. Okay, that's correct. They could be mauled to death whilst on fire. No, actually, I don't think they can be attacked when they're on fire, which is kind of funny. It makes sense, though. The animals would probably just be scared of that. Why would... They probably don't want to get near the fire. Okay, so it says burned to death for those guys. Mauled to death if they get killed by an animal. They can die of old age, that's harder to test. They can die of starvation and stuff. Like if we don't have any, it'll take a while. Well, they'll die of no, they won't die of dehydration because they can drink from the stream there. I have to go to a map with no streams to test that. Okay, why can't I smite them? I can smite the animals. I can't smite the humans. going on? Alright, didn't know that smite wasn't working. Oh, but wait a minute. Hold on, one sec. What am I doing? This one. Because all this does is set HP to 0, and then the regular death code takes over. And then that would just set them to mold to death again. So we can only do this if cause of death equals no one. Huh, interesting. Which means that we have to make sure that we set that back to no one if we resurrect them. Otherwise that will break if they die again. What do you spell? How do you... Oh, what the hell is this? Resurrection. Okay. Cause of death. There we go. And, oh yeah, why is smite not working? Smite. What? Oh, okay. I tried to simplify the code down at some point, but I've messed it up because of this, right? So we have to do this. Parent of parent is creature, but humans don't work like that, so it's or object, no, global clicked object index equals human, like that. Right, so now this will work for animals, but this will also make it work for humans. Alright, should be good, I guess. That's obviously what I thought I was doing the first time around, but I messed this up. I don't know why I do HP minus equals HP instead of just HP equals 0. Sure, I can just load. Oh, what am I talking about? If you smite them, they don't even exist anymore. No, I can't load either. What am I even... Right. So there's no... If you smite them, they just disintegrate. They just evaporate, you know. So that's not a thing. Okay, that's not a thing. Okay. So as long as cause of death equals no one at this point, then they either died of old age, or they were on fire but not smitten, and they burned to death, or they were mauled to death. But we don't even need that, because if they were smitten, they're just going to cease to exist. And then we've got the various died of thirst, starvation, hypothermia, heat stroke up here. Okay, we can just do a quick test and see, like, if it works, if they die of thirst or something. What about... Oh, wait, no, we got that hypothermia and heat stroke, yeah. New game. Alright. once again, in the wrong frickin' level. I need to go somewhere with no drinking water. There we go. So I did set the length of a year back to what it was, because I just didn't like the shorter seasons. Yeah, I wonder with these icons above their head if they would look better without the additional white outline on the outside. Maybe just have the grey outline and that's it. I think it might look cleaner actually. Alright, they should die pretty soon. There we go. Died of thirst. Alright, cool. There we go. So you can actually see what they died of, which I think is pretty useful because sometimes they die and people have no idea how they died. So now they can check and hopefully kind of gather some information, maybe even prevent it from happening again. That's good. Little update, add that to the patch notes. Dead human. Gravestones display cause of death when bars are enabled. That probably makes sense. Okay. Cross that one off the list. Cause of death. Done. So yeah, the thing I want to do is make the crash, kind of make the humans age up sooner, so there's like a more of a benefit to having the crash. Simplest implementation is just as long as you have at least one crash built, then they just age up at a younger age or something like that. But I think what I really want to do is for all whenever they spend time in the crash, it reduces the age that they need to reach in order to reach maturity. So it starts at 7 years old, and then if they spend a day in the crash, it goes down a bit to 6 years and, however many days. And the more time they spend in the crash, that number goes down and down and down. So there's like some sort of a benefit to having the creche. I didn't want it to just speed up aging, because then, you know, that doesn't make sense. Like, you don't age faster by going to school. That's not how it works. So yeah, I mean, although we could just do it that way. Like, what am I talking about? We could just make them age up faster when they go in the creche. Like, double the rate of aging whilst they're in the... yeah, I can probably just do that. Like, why am I overcomplicating it? We can probably just, you know... That's really easy to do, actually. We could do that right now. Because it's so much easier to do it that way. I don't know, I just had it in my head like, no, we can't do that, you know. But we totally can do that. We totally can. And it's less confusing because they always age up at 7 years old, but they reach 7 years old faster somehow, which doesn't make sense, but it's whatever. I think it's fine. Year counter greater than or equal to year length. The thing is, we only want to do this for children. We don't want the adults to age up faster when they're in there, because that just means they die sooner, and that's not good. Okay. So we could do a check to see if they are... Okay, we could do it like... Because whenever they're inside a tent, they're also targeting it. So we know if they're inside and targeting a creche, that they're inside of a creche. And then if they're also below 7 years old, we know that they're a child. So we could just say... Well, first of all, let's check age, I guess. Age less than 7. And then let's check if their target.object index equals object crash, spelt like the first boss in Wailing Caverns, of course. And then inside equals true. Else. Okay. And then we just double the rate of aging. This is in the wrong place. Completely the wrong place. Fuck. That would have made them age up 2 years instead of 1 if they were inside of the creche. We want this one, the year counter. Right. Okay. Right. Okay, so normally they age up at a rate of like 1 per second. And a year is like 13,440 seconds. And they're just going to age up at a rate of 2. Wait a minute, other way around. 2 per second if they're inside of a creche younger than 7 years old. So the one thing this doesn't do, and it's easy fix, baby age. This is grey baby. Grey baby. The grey baby. Sorry, I've been watching Dimension 20, The Unsleeping City. And the grey baby. So we can make the babies age up faster if the mothers take them into the creche as well. By... No, that's not true. That is not true. Or is it? Wait, baby year... Where the hell is the baby year counter? If baby is true... Oh, I get it. It's all in the same thing. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. If baby is true, and target is crash and inside is true, then baby year counter else goes up at twice the rate as well, like that. And just for my own sanity, I'd like to find out how long they actually spend in the crash per day, because it's not all day. It's like some limited amount of time, a few hours or something. Something called crash timer is a thing. That's a thing. It's 14... What does that mean? What even is that? In fact, isn't that insane? What even is... How long is a day? A day is only 240, right? Wait a minute, what? Crash time, what the hell? Doesn't make any sense. A day is only 240 seconds. Why is this so long? Whoops. Jesus. What? Minus equals 60 divided by time, so 1 per second. How long are they spending in these crashes? So basically right now they would spend all day in the crash, because there's absolutely no limit on this. We probably only want them to spend like 4 hours in there, which is like 40 seconds. Or something like that. 8 hours? Should it be the length of a school day? How long is a school day? Too long. 6.5 to 7 hours. Just makes me want to burn this motherfucker down. 7 hours a day, so we could do 70. Alright. We just do 7 hours a day. What? Why is it randomized as well? What's that all about? What even? Who even made this game? So it's whenever they enter a crash. Oh, if it's already zeroed out. So it could even carry over into the next day. Which is completely insane. Maybe it should reset when they go to sleep or something. Doesn't really make sense. That it should be the amount of time that they'll spend in a crash in a single day. Really. And it should just be like 70. This is absolutely bonkers. What is this? If that's like... That's a long time. That's several days. It should be like 70. And then... It's less than or equal to 0. Because it counts down. What does it do? It counts down to 0? Yeah. And then if the crash timer hits 0, that's when they leave the crash again. Okay, the hell is it? Right, okay, so if they're asleep, we should probably reset the crash timer when they wake up, right? What even is all this? You should really comment your code, kids. What the hell is this? Some sort of interrupts. Gotcha. Those must be interrupts. Then there's the various gift-specific interrupts. Labor, countdown, required sleep. This is the waking up code. Natural waking up in the morning. Here's the actual waking up. And then, boom. We'll put, well, the sleep timer, action timer. Let's do crash timer equals 0 right there. So we reset for a fresh day of crashing. Crashing out. Getting crashed up. Okay. And they will try to spend 7 hours in the crash on any given day. I guess we can try it. I don't know what the hell was going on with that before. This is, really helps to go back and revisit old code for this exact reason. Yeah, strange. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, this is what we're doing. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So we're good, we're good. Right, so children and babies now age up twice as fast in the crash. Which, instead of having to half the length of a year, I think is preferable, because the seasons were too short and it was annoying. I didn't like it. It was like winter was just over before it started, you know, it was too... It didn't feel like you had to survive the long, hard winter. It was like, it was just kind of, oh, that was that winter? No, barely even noticed. Alright, sweet, I'm happy with that. I'm going to throw something in the oven and update the patch notes here when I get back. I'll be 2 seconds. Grey baby. Okay. Oh yeah, okay. Sure, child is a subclass of human, that's fine. Child. Spend up to 7 hours per day in the crash. And that will be the same for progenitors. Progenitor. And okay, constructs. Increases the rate of aging of babies and children by 100% whilst they are inside. That's right, I guess. Increases the rate of aging of babies and children by 100% whilst inside. We can shorten it down. Whilst inside. Okay. Alright, that's that. Yeah, I mean, it's like if they say, you know, it says they're 7 years old and they haven't actually technically lived 7 years, it's not really giving you accurate information, but we could change it eventually, maybe. We could detach the actual rate of aging from the displayed age. But it's fine. We're gonna be fine. Okay, what am I doing now? Cross that one off the list. Done that. Yeah, there's a question. Do I want to prevent... Well... the way that it's set up right now, no, I don't want to do that. The hunters can be interrupted by hunger and thirst and stuff when they're hunting. And that's just how it is. I'm gonna leave it on the list, but I'm not gonna mess with it now. Remove it. I still have this old list called the available hunters list, which is not actually used for anything, and it's just floating around in the code. I'm updating it. I'm adding hunters to it. I'm removing hunters from it. It doesn't do anything. That's not good. Increase the temperature at which heat haze activates and enable it in all levels. So that, because right now it's only in the dry climate, like the desert and the savanna. The savanna. That you actually see the heat haze effect. But maybe it should just be in any level. if it gets hot enough. And maybe those are the only levels that really kind of get hot enough. Maybe some of the other levels can get kind of hot, and maybe there'll be a bit of heat haze, but mostly it will just be in the desert. They mostly come at night. Mostly. I tried researching this. Like, what temperature does heat haze tend to show up at? There's not much good information about that. But I feel like it's something I should kind of just know from personal experience, but I don't really. 24 degrees? What about that? I think it's set to 19 now. Because it's something to do with the difference between surface temperature and the temperature of the air. So it's not a set temperature. You can even see the effect in temperatures below freezing, because it's about the difference between surface temperature and air temperature. We're not simulating surface temperature, that's not a thing, so good luck with that. Jesus, alright, it's not a big deal. Oh god. Oh, I'm gonna burn the house down. I didn't put a timer on. That's a good point, actually. I don't think you could leave the current level if somebody was on fire still. Because it would be waiting for them to reach the portal. But they wouldn't be going there because they're burning. Interesting. Okay. I'm not too worried about it. I'm kind of okay with that for now. Seems like the most important thing that I should be doing right now is adding support for multiple resolutions, but that is not easy. I don't even know where to begin. If I could at least just get it to detect your native desktop resolution and then use that, because then I don't have to update the menu, which is probably the most, well, it's time consuming. as time consuming as actually getting different resolutions to work. Yeah, making the hotbar clickable, I feel like people would appreciate that. Seems like quite a lot of work, because I think you can click through the hotbar right now, essentially. I don't know. Can I click through the hotbar and pick stuff up? Yes. Right. So it's not just a matter of making the hotbar clickable, but you've also got to prevent the player from being able to click through it and click on other stuff behind it. So it's not that simple. It's pretty simple, it's just tedious and quite a lot of work. I mean, it's not too bad if you just disable like all of the clicking whenever the mouse is within the whole area of... Okay, that's fairly easy. It's not too bad. Yeah. Okay, it's not too bad. So if it's resize, this function will resize a surface to the given dimensions in pixels. The surface ID is that of a surface you have created previously, or the application surface. And the function will resize that surface. Note that this will neither crop nor stretch the contents of the surface, rather it destroys the current surface and recreates it with the same handle with the new dimensions, meaning it will need to be cleared and drawn to again, unless it is the application surface, in which case GameMaker will do this automatically. Note, if you are resizing the application surface, these changes will not be registered until the start of the next draw frame, meaning that calling the surface get width or surface get height functions in the same event or step will return the previous values. This is all sounding too easy. Can I really just do surface resize on the application surface? Can I get... You can use display get width, display get height. Return the width of the display. Note that on HTML5 target, this is a browser window rather than physical display size. So I can have this, I can potentially have this automatically adapt to the size of the monitor. But it sounds like changing the surface, so I would still be kind of like, the base resolution would be like 1080, and then it would be scaled up to the size of the surface. So you wouldn't like see more screen space. The pixel art would kind of get larger as well, everything would kind of get larger. But do we want to be able to see more screen space though? I mean, why not? Kind of interesting, right? Be sort of making use of people's larger monitors if they could see more area of the game. Right? But I think what I tried to do last time was like change the resolution of the viewport or something, and it just didn't... I can't remember what happened really, but I couldn't get it working. So maybe this is the way.
Resolution. It's something you need to get right early on in your game project because it determines a lot of things about how to make your assets, how to plan your available screen space, how your game will work across different devices, and even things like how movement and subpixels are going to work. There is some game maker specific info in this video, but generally, these concepts apply broadly across game development. Firstly, if you're making your first game, don't be tricked into believing you need to offer a wide array of resolution options just because that's the standard in many AAA PC games. It's great quality of life, and it is an expectation many players have of games of a certain scope and quality, but that likely isn't where your first games are going to be aiming. So it's much more important that you choose one target resolution and aspect ratio as early as possible and stick to it. Even if you do plan to offer other resolution options, you want to have a foundation to work from, which will hopefully be the most natural resolution to use for your players. So what resolution or aspect ratio should you pick? The answer is obviously that it depends on your game, your art style, your target platforms, etc. But here are some rules of thumb you can use for Windows games and other common platforms. If you're making a pixel art game, a really good rule of thumb resolution is 320 by 180 or 640 by 360. They have an aspect ratio of 16 by 9, which is very common across monitors, TVs, and phones. These two small resolutions also perfectly scale up to all of the most common 16 by 9 HD resolutions like 1080p, 2K, 4K in whole multiples, which means you don't get any weird pixel stretching going on. This is especially important for pixel art, but helpful across the board. You want to scale your game in whole integers like this whenever possible. It's worth noting there is a big difference between these two small resolutions in terms of the sheer number of pixels you have in order to show detail. More detail is not necessarily better. One of the biggest concerns you should have is that it takes exponentially longer to produce pixel art the higher your target detail level, so be careful. I would advise 320 by 180 to beginners over 640 by 360 personally. For non-pixel art games, I would still generally start with a 16:9 resolution. I'd probably look at 1280 by 720 first of all. It might seem low, but it's honestly quite a nice resolution, at least for Windows games in my experience. It does have a 1.5 scale to 1080, but a clean 2x scale to 1440 and 3x to 2160. This might be a fairly dated example, but Braid and many more modern games like it is still a beautiful game to this day, and its native resolution is only 1280 by 720. Unless you have a particular reason or goal that demands it, I wouldn't advise going beyond 1920 by 1080 as a target. Generally for most 2D games, at least again for beginners. Managing your texture pages, performance and art assets gets trickier the bigger your assets get, and screen resolutions above this point are still not as common as you might think, at least on desktop machines. That said, if you are considering supporting higher resolutions for your HD game, it does make sense to create large art assets if you can, even when targeting lower resolutions initially. You can then scale down assets for lower resolutions, which tends to work better than scaling up for larger resolutions. But please try not to overthink this for your first games. I'd say you should simply make your assets with one conservatively chosen resolution in mind, while you grow as a developer and gain experience. In Game Maker specifically, everything in your game is by default drawn to something called the application surface. You can think of the application surface size as being your game's internal resolution. When I talk about your game's resolution, I'm usually talking about this. By default, the application surface simply matches the size of your game window, which in turn defaults to the size of your first room, or the space used by your viewports if they've been enabled. You can set your application surface and therefore the internal resolution of your game manually in Game Maker by using surface resize with the application surface. This sets the resolution of your game to be the same regardless of your window size, with some special exceptions like the GUI layer and the back buffer, but I don't really have time to cover those here. You generally want to fix your resolution in this way for a pixel art game, as you're likely to want a bigger game window than say 320 by 180, but you don't want to scale that internal resolution with it. You want the resolution of the game to stay small, otherwise you may run into some unwanted subpixels with anything that has a non-integer position or scale. Also, if you need to zoom in or out, try to spend most of your time at whole integer zoom levels, 1x zoom, 2x zoom, and so on. This is more important for pixel art games generally, because anything in between, you might notice weirdness where some pixels get stretched. However, there are some clever tricks you can use with modern pixel art games. If you manually take control of your game rendering, you can, for example, create a smooth, sub-pixel capable camera and solve some of those zooming issues I mentioned while retaining a pixel-perfect game resolution. Check out my other video on smooth pixel art cameras for more about that. Eventually, of course, you might need to change resolution. Perhaps you're targeting a new platform with a different aspect ratio. Since 16:9 is so common, if you use one of the resolutions I mentioned before, often you can just scale your game in multiples without much issue. But if you do need to change aspect ratio, that raises a few questions and different options. Firstly, you can simply scale up your game to fit the window with the aspect ratio intact. Game Maker actually does this by default with a per project setting. You will have to accept your game having some black bars that appear around the edges, but this is generally fine, especially for 16:9 games, and there are many fun ways to disguise or decorate this space using GUI layer or other drawing tools beyond the application surface. And it might just be necessary. Actually changing the aspect ratio will potentially change a lot about your game because it affects what the player can physically see. If there's a camera in your game, you might be revealing or obscuring more of your levels, and this can be a very big deal for 100 reasons. From revealing important details too soon, to obscuring important things during cutscenes, to potential gameplay advantages with more or less vision, etc. If you usually just show the whole room at once in your game, you might have no choice at all, as you simply need to fit all of your level contents on the screen and your levels are more of a specific size. Another perspective is a game I made that has fixed level sizes of a super ancient 4:3 aspect ratio. They're 1024:768. The game simply has black bars to compensate, but these fit the graphical style of the game, and it looks fine. However, you might want to actually change your aspect ratio and internal resolution. Perhaps you're making a grand strategy game where you've decided the more pixels you have to show more of the world to the player at once, the better, and you want to make maximum use of whatever resolution you have on your device. While there simply just isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to a change in aspect ratio, the closest thing is usually to scale either your width or your height to fit your window first, then adjust the other dimension as needed based on your new aspect ratio with some simple maths. For example, let's take a 16:9 640:360 game and scale up to a 16:10 display like 1920:1200. Normally this would result in just stretching your game window up to fit by tripling its size so it occupied a space of 1920:1080, leaving 120 pixels worth of black bars at the edge. But if we don't want those black bars at the edge, we need to know how to apply a 16:10 aspect ratio to our internal resolution of 640:360. We'll keep the width the same since we know that already fits quite nicely, so how much do we need to increase our height by? Well, if we divide 1920 by 1200 or 16 by 10, this value shows us how much the width of our target resolution is bigger than the height. That's 1.6 times bigger. This is what aspect ratio means. For every 16 pixels of width, there is 10 pixels of height. So if we divide our original width of 640 by 1.6, we get our target height. And if you want to get a target width, you can multiply your original height by this number. So our final height should be 640 divided by 1.6, which is 400 pixels. So then in GameMaker, for example, we can change our application surface and view size to match. You can even detect whether you need to scale up your height or your width based on your display size, and then apply the appropriate maths to scale to any resolution. This is not always or even often the way to go for most games though. Like I said, there's a lot of game design consequences to changing your game's aspect ratio, so make sure you know what you're doing. Most of the time, working with black bars is fine, and what's more important is choosing a resolution that scales well and is appropriate for your game and visual style. So that's my primer on resolution in games. There's a lot of other details for GameMaker in particular I could cover here, but I think understanding this context is important before answering how to change our resolution in GameMaker, for example. It's important to first know what we mean when we say resolution and to establish when and why you would want to change it. So with that context set, what would you like to learn more about? Leave comments and suggestions below. Also, I would be remiss not to mention Pixelated Pope's excellent and venerable 3-part series on this topic that I still very much recommend. You might expect it to be out of date, and while this is partly true of some GameMaker specific code in Part 3, it was made in 2016, the concepts taught in Part 1 and 2 are exactly the same, and you can still get a ton out of it, so please do go and watch that series if you haven't already. Thank you to my patrons for voting for this topic, funding this video, and all of my other work. Thank you too, of course, for watching till the end, liking, subbing, all that good stuff. Cheers all, catch you all next time.
Hey Game Makers, Pixelated Pope here, and welcome to part 1 of my hopefully comprehensive tutorial on dealing with black bars, resolution, and scaling in Game Maker. So if you're curious about why black bars and pixel scaling are an issue in the first place, and want to understand why we need to fix them, then keep watching. There's two questions I see very often on the Game Maker forum. Some games specifically for 16 by 9 displays and just deal with the black bars on 16 by 10, or heaven forbid a 4 by 3. But I assume you're watching this video to avoid those cheap hacks. And as I mentioned before, we'll get into the GM specifics later, but generally speaking, you have two options. You can maintain the width of your game and restrict the height. You'll notice that we can still see the same amount of water on the right and the half of the tree on the left, just like the original image at the top. However, we can no longer see the vision that you had before and select the aspect ratio you're going to design your game for primarily, keeping in mind that small changes up or down in the aspect ratio won't be a problem. Now you need to select an actual resolution. You decide on 512 by 288, a perfectly 16 by 9 aspect ratio. So you start building your game, you're getting art in, and you run it in full screen, and bam, ugliness. Pixels aren't square anymore, everything looks distorted, and text is hard to even look at. Why does this happen? Let's look at an example. This is Terra from Final Fantasy VI. You can see the outlines around each pixel, and each pixel is just that, a single pixel. So let's scale her up by 2 times. You can see from the faint grid that each pixel is now actually 4 pixels. She looks perfect and is visually no different from 1x, just uses more pixels. If I hadn't scaled the image for the presentation, she would also be twice as tall and twice as wide, but otherwise visually identical. But what happens if we want to scale to a non-whole number, say 1.5 times? What would that look like? Yuck! What happened? Everything is a complete mess. Her outlines, her eyes, her clothes, everything looks horrible. But why? Because there is no such thing as half a pixel in computer graphics. When we say I want her to be twice as big, each pixel's width and height gets multiplied by 2, resulting in each pixel consisting of 4 pixels. But when I say 1.5 times bigger or 2.7 or any non-whole number, the graphics engine just has to sort of guess where each pixel goes. It rounds values, it fills in gaps to try and do what you asked it to do. Turn every 1 pixel into 2.25 pixels by increasing their width and height by 50%, which is impossible when there's no such thing as a fraction of a pixel. Ideally, when scaling pixel art, you should always work in whole numbers. But this is a problem in practical application. When you tell your game to go into full screen, you don't tell the game to scale it by 2 or 3 times. you give it the resolution that you want to scale it to, the current monitor's resolution, and it uses whatever multiple it needs to become exactly that size. And that multiplier is rarely going to be a whole number. So let's take a look at what our selected resolution, 512 by 288, might look like on a 1920 by 1080 monitor. Initially, the window of the game would be about that big, just a small fraction of the size of the screen. So we go full screen and the game stretches to 1080p. Uh-oh, look at the bottom right of that image. See how one of the blocks of 512 by 288 is going off the screen? That means that 512 does not divide evenly into 1920, nor does 288 divide evenly into 1080. So GameMaker will squish and scale your game to force it to fit to the full screen perfectly, using non-whole numbers and causing the distortion we saw on Portera in the previous slide. So how do we fix this? Well, the only solution, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, is that we have to change the resolution of our game to scale perfectly to the current monitor. Again, you might think you can just go change your resolution to one that scales perfectly to 1080p right out of the box, and that'll work for 1080p, but not for 1920 by 1200 or 1440p. Remember, we need to do everything dynamically because we have no idea what monitor this is going to be played on. So let's do some math. Since we're working with consistent aspect ratio, we only need to try manipulating either the width or the height, and the multiplier we come up with can apply to the other. So let's look at the width. 1920 divided by 512, the resolution of our game, is 3.75, meaning we can fit 3.75 copies of our game horizontally in a 1920 by 1080 monitor. So that explains the 75% of a box we see in the bottom right corner. So at this point, we have two options. We can increase the size of our game so that we fit 3 perfectly, or decrease the size so that we can fit 4. 1920 divided by 4 is 480. So if we want to fit 4 boxes, we would need our game's horizontal resolution to be 480. 1920 divided by 3 is 640. So if we wanted our game to be bigger, so it only scales 3 times, we would need a width of 640. In most cases, I think you'll want to take the resolution that is the smallest deviation from your original desired size. So decreasing the size so we can fit 4 is a much shorter distance than increasing the size to get 3, and will result in the smallest possible change from our desired size. So if we use the width of 480, that means our height is going to be 270 because we are maintaining the 16 by 9 aspect ratio. And when full screened on 1920 by 1080 monitor, we get a game that has been perfectly scaled to 4x. Each pixel is now represented by 16 pixel blocks on the monitor. There will be no distortion. Everything will look exactly as it does at 1x in windowed mode, just bigger. Okay, so I've talked a lot about the general principles that govern aspect ratio and pixel scaling, but we haven't really talked about GameMaker specifically. Hey Game Makers, Pixelated Pope here, and welcome to part 2 of my tutorial on dealing with. By the end of this part, you should have the display. As you might have guessed, this is the primary monitor of whatever device your game is running on. It doesn't matter if it's a Windows PC or an Android tablet. The display is vital because it places hard limits on how big our game can be, specifically how many pixels tall and wide. And the aspect ratio determines the shape our game must adhere to in order to avoid black bars in full screen. Now, as always, I recommend reading the documentation on all the display functions, but the two most important ones are display get width and display get height. There are a few other notable ones, but we'll touch on them later. If you know the display width and the display height, you can do all the calculations we talked about in part 1, including finding the aspect ratio of the monitor and determining the proper sizing of your game for perfect scaling. The window is very similar to the display. In fact, when running on a mobile device or in full screen mode, your window sizes and your display sizes will be the same values, and similar functions exist to get those values. But unlike the display, the window can be resized. Again, read the documentation so that you're familiar with all the functions available to manipulate the window, because there's a lot, but there is a particularly useful one I want to point out. Window Center does what it says on the tin. It will center your window on the primary monitor. GameMaker will do this for you automatically when you first run your game. However, If you modify your game's width and height anytime while the game is running, centering does not happen automatically. You'll need to manually center your game with this function. Now, one thing to be aware of, and this is why I wanted to call out this function in particular, is that you can't resize and center in the same step. I don't have a good explanation for you. I'm guessing there's just a delay between the window receiving the resize command and it actually resizing. Not really sure. But if you are manually resizing your window in code and want it to center itself afterwards, I recommend using an alarm to do the actual centering. Now that we've established the boundaries for our game, let's look at the parts that actually make up the game itself. The first is the application surface. Now, real fast, I just want to throw out this disclaimer. The application surface is a very powerful tool, and there's a lot you can do with it. This tutorial is going to assume we are letting GameMaker handle pretty much everything about the application surface except for maybe the sizing. As such, for the purpose of this tutorial, the only applicable functions are the ones you are probably already familiar with. The application surface is just that, a surface. So you can get the width, the height, and resize it just like any other one. Simply pass in the keyword application surface as the index for the surface, and these functions behave exactly as you would expect. So what does it actually do? The application surface is the canvas for your game. Every time you use the draw event to draw a sprite or a background or a tile or even another surface, it's drawn to the application surface. One of the things that GameMaker does automatically with the application surface is it draws the surface scale to fit your window while maintaining the aspect ratio of your application surface, like so. This is assuming you haven't changed that setting in your game's graphics options, which I'm honestly not sure why you ever would. By default, your game window and application surface will always be the same size. But this scaling also happens when we move to full screen, and that is when we start to see black bars. There's obviously more we could discuss on the application surface, but let's move on to the next layer. I'll go into a bit more detail on this in the next part, but if you're worried about all this resolution stuff working properly in your game, you should be using views in every single room. Additionally, GM is capable of using multiple views, useful for split screen multiplayer and whatnot, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to assume the use of a single view. But what is the view? As many of you should already be aware, the view is essentially the camera in our game world, and you should be familiar with the variable.
Okay, food's ready. Alright, well, so I need to fix zooming so that we always zoom by a power of 2, and I need to finish learning this stuff. I'll probably do this stuff tomorrow. It's getting pretty late. We'll try and get custom resolutions working tomorrow in some basic form. So until next time, thanks for watching, and take it easy, dude. But take it. Let's see if there's somebody to raid. Doesn't look like it. Okay, we're not raiding anybody today. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow to finish this stuff up. Alright, peace out. Take it.